Remember when I said I was going to do a lot more YouTube? Well, here I am. Hello friends, it has definitely been a minute since I've been here on YouTube, a couple months, but that's okay. I'm going to try to get back into it. Can I guarantee anything? No, but that's okay. Because at the end of the day, life's what you make it. Let's make it right. Today I'm here to talk to you about my March reading wrap up. I read 10 books in the month of March, with 3 being nonfiction and 7 being fiction. So I thought I'd do a longer extended yap version of this on here because TikTok usually limits things to 10 minutes. I can technically talk past that, but I feel like no one would really want to watch it at that point. So we're gonna move over to here where I know y'all like extended yap versions. So today we're doing our extended yap edition of my March reading wrap up. That was so repetitive. How have y'all been though? How's everything? Let me know how you all are in the comments. Okay, let's start with nonfiction because that's what I usually do. This month was quite interesting for any former Tumblr girlies, former John Green Hunger Games girlies, in the sense that we had a John Green book and a Hunger Games book come out on the same day in the year of our Lord 2025. I would have thought it was 2012. I was a big John Green girly, big Hunger Games girly. I went to the midnight premiere dressed as Prim. Rest in peace. And I lived for John Green. John Green commented on one of my videos a couple years ago when I was like very new to book talk, and that rocked my world. I love that man. Honestly, I'm mad at myself for kind of talking shit about him for a while as I was in my angsty growing up phase, because now I just look at him very fondly for writing the books that really shaped who I was as a tween/teenager. But anyways, on to this book. Over here, we have Everything is Tuberculosis. Tuberculosis. For some reason, I cannot pronounce that word properly. I am foreign at the end of the day. English is technically not my first language, so y'all cannot talk shit about this, about me pronouncing that violently wrong. But this is the history and persistence of our deadliest infection. John Green, for some reason, has been very fixated on tuberculosis over the past few years, so he wrote a book about it. This is his second nonfiction book. If you've read The Anthropocene Reviewed, that is his first one. If you have not read it, you should do that because it is incredible. This is a tiny little book in the end. I thought it was much longer. I think it is under 200 pages. And there's kind of a dual narrative going on. We have John talking about his experience knowing this boy called Henry, who does have tuberculosis, that he met when he was in Sierra Leone, and he befriended Henry, and they have been friends for many, many years. If you hear a garbage truck, that is happening right now. I'm just gonna keep talking. The other narrative that we have going on is the more typical nonfiction narrative about the story of tuberculosis and its history and various things that lead back to him being right in the fact that everything is tuberculosis at the end of it, including the blush that most girls wear. The more you know. I thought that was interesting. I enjoyed this because I enjoyed John's writing, like I said, but I did find it to be a little bit disjointed, which I did say in my TikTok less yap version of this video. I did say that it kind of felt like it was skimming the surface of what we could have gone into when it comes to tuberculosis, but also Henry's story. But then I learned last night that this was a Penguin teen book. So technically it's not an adult nonfiction. So that kind of explains to me why the tone is the way that it is. Kind of this more, just less in depth than I would have liked it to go. But I can't really be upset at it anymore because it is a Penguin teen book. At the end of our day, at the end of things, I do hope that John continues in the nonfiction realm. I love me some nonfiction, y'all know. And I really, really loved The Anthropocene Reviewed. This kind of, I feel like, is still finding its footing. But it is very interesting if you don't really know much about tuberculosis, which I did not. So that's that. Then we have A Change of Habit, leaving behind my husband, career, and everything I owned to become a nun. This is an arc. This will be out April 29th by Crown. Thank you, Crown, for sending me a copy of this. This is what it says it is. It is about a woman's journey who decided she wanted to be a nun later in life, I believe in her 40s. Well, she wanted to be a nun throughout her whole entire life, but she never really followed that calling because she thought it wouldn't fit in with what people expected her to be. But it never let up, that calling. So eventually she did leave her husband, she left her job, everything she knew, and she went and became a nun. And I love nonfiction because I'm a very nosy person. More specifically, I love a memoir because I'm a very nosy person. I want to know things about people. In this case, I wanted to know what was kind of the process of becoming a nun in our day and age, because I didn't know that. And now I know. So in that sense, this was very interesting. It's not the most incredible writing, not the most beautiful poetic writing, but that's not really what I think this is for. It's just for telling your story, which in that sense, it did it. So if you're intrigued about what it takes to become a nun in this day and age, then pick this up. I enjoyed her. Then for my last nonfiction of the month, I picked up Body Work. I think it's called Body Work. I don't have it on me. I got it from the library. This is one of Melissa Febos's books. I read The Dry Season by her last month, which I got an ARC of again. I think it comes out in June. I'll put it in here. But I thought that was absolutely incredible. I was obsessed with it. It is one of my new favorites for nonfiction for this year. So I'm now determined to go back and read every single book that she has read. I want to go through her catalog. I do own Girlhood, which is a series of essays about girlhood, and I remember DNFing it a couple years ago. I honestly don't know why. I don't know why, because I love her writing. I need to go back and revisit that. But anyway, I picked this up because it was in the library on Libby, and at night I like to read on my Kindle while my partner is sleeping because I don't want to turn the light on and bother him. So I found this on Libby. This is about memoir writing about trauma. And it was very interesting. Again, it is a very short little book. I believe it's around 150 pages or something. Nothing crazy. So if you have any interest in art about trauma, not specifically writing about trauma, because I think as a general idea, you can translate books about writing into books about just art as a general, then this will be the one for you. It consists of, I think, 4 essays, maybe 5. Maybe 5. No, I think 4. And it explores her experiences writing about her trauma. She has written multiple memoirs at this point, and she teaches writing courses. So it's her kind of sharing her expertise on this. And I thought it was really interesting. I did underline a ton of this, especially the first 2 essays, I believe. Am I a writer? No, I would not consider myself a writer. I did do a lot more writing in college, but now I'm just kind of here yapping about books on the internet. But I am an artist at the end of the day, even if I don't really identify with that title as much as I used to. But as a whole, I was still interested to see what other people are saying about writing about trauma, making art about trauma, what she had to say. Some things I found a little contradictory. There's a whole chapter in this that talks about the kind of do's and don'ts that she has discovered while writing about trauma and writing about people in her life, and when to include certain stories and certain people in her writing and how that's affected her relationships with said people. In that, she was kind of saying that you should write about your stories no matter what, no matter who's involved, but at the same time, she did have regrets about writing about certain people and the way they've reacted. So that was interesting. I don't know how I feel about that, but I thought I'd share. But yes, I will be continuing on in my journey, reading throughout Melissa Febos's catalog, and read The Dry Season because it is amazing. Okay, let's get in to the fiction. Starting off for my fiction this month, I read Madonna in a Fur Coat. I picked this up because I was seeing it all over Instagram. I don't know if y'all have Instagram. Y'all are on Bookstagram. I'm relatively newly on Bookstagram, but this was everywhere, and I really love this cover. I think it is quite gorgeous. So I ordered this specifically from the UK because the US cover is hideous. And I read this. This is a classic novel by a Turkish author. It is about a young man in 1920s, I believe. 1920s Berlin who falls in love with an artist, and you kind of follow their love affair and the falling apart of their love affair. This was okay. I didn't love it as much as I've seen people love it. People are really into this book over on Bookstagram. I thought it was fine. The blurb kind of says that this is a novel about the love affair, but in reality, the love affair is maybe half of the story, and it is a short book. Most of the story, you get this kind of building up to the other story where you have a man who works with our main character, and he discovers this man's journal as this man is dying, and then you get into the love affair story. So I thought that was interesting because what it's advertised as to be is not even like the main portion of the story. It is, but it's not, if that makes sense. But the writing was good. I was not blown away by it. So it was fine. I feel bad because people are really talking about this as it has changed their lives, and I did not feel that way. But that's okay because we all feel different ways about different books. A book that did blow me away is Land of Milk and Honey. This is about a dystopian future world in the near future where people don't have the crops we used to have. They don't have the foods that we have because of climate change. So this woman is a chef, and she no longer can work with a lot of the ingredients that she worked with as a chef in the normal times. So she's kind of mourning that life, and she finds a job opening in this very elite, closed off country. It's its own little country, and she gets hired there to work as a chef, and it turns out that they have a lot of the older foods, crops, ingredients because they grow them in their own labs, and it's this very kind of The Menu-esque. If you've watched the movie The Menu with Anya Taylor-Joy, it very much reminded me of that. But we have that element, and then we also have a sapphic love story element where our main character kind of falls for the daughter of this weird country situation, and things get messy. The writing in this very much feels like you're coming in and out of consciousness, which at first I did not really enjoy, but once I got kind of used to it, then I really liked it. But I know a lot of people, I read through the reviews on Goodreads, did not like that aspect of this book. So the writing isn't for everyone, but it was for me. I gave this 5 stars. I loved it very much. And I do think this will be one that I need to reread eventually because it is so dense that I probably miss a lot of stuff just because of the nature of it. But I loved it, and I haven't really seen anyone talking about it, maybe a handful of people, and I wish we were talking about it more because it is very good. Very sensual writing, if that sounds appealing to you. Then we have Maeve Fly. This was very much so up my alley, but then it wasn't. This is about a woman who works as a Disney princess in LA, in California, in Anaheim, in Disneyland. I'm a Disney World girl. I go very, very frequently. So it was very interesting to hear about or to read about someone who works as a Disney princess because I know many people who do that. So that was a little strange. She works as a Disney princess. Does not say the name of that Disney princess, but it is Elsa. But at the same time, she's kind of a little kooky, a little sociopath, a hint of a psychopath in there. This is a horror novel, if I didn't say that, if you can't tell by the cover. And things go downhill. We get into some messes with our main character. And I really, really loved it until I didn't. The ending felt really absurd and rushed, and it was annoying, and I was pissed off because this could have been a new favorite, and then it was not. So that was quite upsetting to me, but I did pick up the other book by this author. We'll see how that one goes for me. Maybe that one will go better. But if you want to have a fun time reading about a sociopathic, psychopathic Disney princess in California, then this is the book for you, even if the ending is not the best. Who knows? Then we have The Lamb by Lucy Rose, or Lucy Rose on TikTok. I am lucky enough to be friends with Lucy Rose on the internet. This is not a sponsored post. I do think this is as incredible as everyone is talking about. The Lamb is about a young girl and her mother living in the woods, and they are cannibals. Serial Play Cannibal by Kesha. And they eat just hikers and travelers who get lost in the woods. They bring them into their house and lure them into a false sense of comfort until they eat them. And eventually there's another woman that shows up who falls in love with the mother, and the whole dynamic of this mother-daughter relationship changes extremely, and things just get progressively worse. I thought this was amazing. Lucy Rose's writing is incredible, and I think y'all should read this if you want a queer / sapphic mother-daughter horror cannibal love story. It is very, very sad, so be wary of that. It does not let up. Things just get dark and darker and even darker, and I kind of appreciated that because I feel like most horror novels that I read kind of have the need to have this like brighter ending, which I don't think is necessary. And Lucy Rose did not think it was necessary either. So if you want to read about some fun little cannibals. Then we have The Buffalo Hunter Hunter. This also came out this month. This is my first time reading anything by Stephen Graham Jones. Stephen Graham Jones is a horror author, if you do not know. This is a Native American horror novel. It is about a Native American vampire who has showed back up to kind of haunt the people who have done him and the Blackfoot people wrong. And this is extremely dark, very scary. It immediately puts you into this vampire telling a story, and most of it is said with Blackfoot terms, Blackfoot language, and there's no glossary, nothing like that. So part of me wanted to DNF this in the first few chapters because I didn't really understand what was going on, and I'm so glad that I did not do that because that would have been such a disservice to me and the author and everything. This is a book that you need to take your time with. You need to step back. If you're a fast reader like me, you need to kind of slow your roll. Take a step back. Take your time. I realized that I did have the power of Google and I could Google these terms that this person is using. A lot of them were not even on Google, so you had to just use context clues from the two narratives. You have the narrative of the Native American vampire, and then you have this priest who is kind of interviewing him. The vampire is telling his confession to this priest. So a lot of the terms that they are using do get eventually cleared up just by reading on in the book. But like I said, you need to take your time and you need to let the book teach you things instead of rushing through it, which I think is a big lesson. And in the end, just that whole process lends so much to the meaning behind this book once you finish it that I think it was a beautiful thing that Stephen Graham Jones did. And he does not hold your hand through this, which is just amazing in hindsight. So incredible book. I gave this 5 stars. I don't really rate books, but if it's 5 stars or like 1 star, then I'll say my thing. The garbage truck is back. But also on a trigger warning note, very much talks about killing animals, killing people. It is a horror novel. It is about Native Americans being massacred. So don't go into this thinking it's like a fun little romp, because it is not. But I loved it very much. And it's got sprayed edges, so that's cute. Next, we have The Bluest Eye by Miss Toni Morrison. I read my first ever Toni Morrison in January, I think. I read Beloved, and I was honestly ashamed that I hadn't read anything by Toni Morrison up until this point, because her writing is incredible, as most of y'all probably know. So now I'm determined to go through her catalog, that seems to be the recurring theme throughout this video. But I picked up The Bluest Eye. This is about a young black girl who wishes she had blue eyes because she thinks that is prettier. She is bullied a lot in school for her skin color, the way she looks, and she wants to change into these white ideals, a blue-eyed girl. And you never really hear her story directly from her, which is an interesting way to tell the story. It's told through all of the people who are around her. So you get like her neighbors, the people that she's living with. And this is horrifying. It gets very, very dark, but in a way that I think is important. And I really love the writing. Like I said, Toni Morrison is very good at horrifying everyone. I think I want to read Sula next, but I'm going to read all of them. And then we have Sunrise on the Reaping, which I'm sure everyone and their mom has been talking about if you watch BookTube, Book Talk, etc. This is the new Hunger Games book. It is a Hunger Games prequel, technically the second Hunger Games prequel. We have Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes first, then we have this, and then we have the original trilogy. Like I said, I was very much so a Hunger Games girl, so I immediately ate this up. I literally read it the first day because I didn't want any spoilers. This is about Haymitch from the original trilogy. It is his time in the Hunger Games in the second quarter quell, and in a video I made right when I picked it up, I did say that it started to feel a little repetitive at the beginning, but that's just the nature of the Hunger Games. I mean, you kind of know what you're in for in the larger sense. You don't know the actual specifics of how horrifying everything is going to be. But I take that back. This was not repetitive once I actually got into the story. And I loved it in the horrifying sense. It is very sad. Haymitch's story is very sad. And this will be a movie. 2026, yes. So I'm very excited to see who they cast as everyone. And I will see the movie. Will I get dressed up? Maybe. Who knows? Probably. I feel like I don't need to tell you too much about this because probably everyone's been talking about it. I did get annoyed with some choices at the end of this that I'm not going to go into because I don't want to spoil anything for anyone who hasn't read it yet. But Some of them were a little annoying in the end that I found not unbelievable, but I feel like the characters should have been smarter about things. But they're also teenagers, but I'm like, I don't know. Okay, I can't go too much into this because I'm going to spoil the book, and I don't want to do that. Is that everything? I believe that is everything that I read in March. I need to go edit this, and then I need to go edit the TikTok version of this, so I have a lot of editing to do today. But thank you for being here. If you watched all the way through, then, I don't know, comment a cowboy emoji or something. Let's be one of those YouTube people. But I love you guys. Thank you for hearing me yap. Thank you for listening to me yap. You have no reason to do that. So it's cool that you want to. I hope you guys have a lovely time. Hopefully I'll post on here more frequently than I did before, which was months ago. But if not, you can find me over on TikTok posting quite regularly. Unless they ban it again in a few days. No comment. We'll see. Okay, love you. Bye.